Alright, so hopefully this mic's set up right. First time I've done it with this particular mic. Really haven't recorded much at all on a motorcycle, so I got another channel where I do auto repair. That's a little bit different because you're not on a motorcycle. But anyway, so to get back to the story, born and raised in St. Louis. Right now, I grew up in what they call South St. Louis. Right now, I live in St. Louis County, which is about probably 8 miles. Close my shield, maybe that'll help the mic a little bit. It's about 8 miles from where I grew up, or thereabouts. I lived in the same house on the south side for about 10 years. Before that, we kind of moved around a little bit. My mom was married to my dad, and they got divorced when I was about 8, and ended up moving to a different house, which is where we're going to go see first, which is what I consider my childhood house, even though I was about 9 when we moved there. It's where I had all my good memories. St. Louis is a great place to grow up, especially in the 80s, and I know, like, I think the early 90s they had a lot of crime. It was one of the worst years for murders, but at least from my point of view, the 80s and 70s, I really don't remember the 70s, but the 80s, when I was in grade school, St. Louis was a great place to grow up. We all lived next, a lot of friends, a lot of neighborhood kids. We all lived next to each other, and my best friend actually lived one street over, but our house is backed up on the alley almost exactly. He was one house down, but literally, like, walk out your backyard into his backyard. And anyway, right now we're going to go visit my dad. It's actually technically legally my stepdad. He adopted me when I was 1. I guess my mom and my biological father had a falling out after I was born, and then my stepdad came along, who I've always called my dad, but it's a little more complicated now because now I have a relationship with my biological father. I didn't meet him until I was about 21, and really haven't had a relationship with him until the last couple of years. And that was only because my siblings, I'm somewhat close to my 2 brothers and my sister, and of course they grew up with them and still see them. They all kind of live right there, so it was kind of weird going to family functions and stuff and not really talking to him, and we finally just kind of smoothed it over, I guess, or whatever you want to say. I'm not going to get deep into all that, but now we have a relationship. It's pretty decent, so I'm happy about that. But we're going to go see right now my other dad, my stepdad, I guess you would say, even though I call him my dad, because that's who he was to me until he was, they got divorced when I was 9. He passed away when he was, I guess, 43, something like that. I was 18 when he passed away. So that's the only dad I knew for 18 years. And he had a lot of demons, alcohol, a lot of crazy stuff with that. But I loved him, and he was my dad, and he's actually what got me into motorcycles. It's kind of funny. I mean, I probably had motorcycle in my blood, so even if he would have never did this, I still probably would have been on a motorcycle. But when I was about, right after they got the divorce, he had a friend that had 2 sons, and they both rode dirt bikes. And I was only 9. I wasn't ready for a full-size dirt bike. They were taller than me, and they had a little Honda 50 trail. And there was a place, if you know the St. Louis area, out 44 towards Eureka. It's like a little off-road place, or off-road park, and they had a little figure-8 track for mini bikes, little mini street bikes. They had like fake railroad crossing and stuff. And he would take me out there, and I would ride that for hours. They used to say, you know, I was 9, I didn't know what the hell they were. I still don't even really know what that means, but they used to say I had ants in my pants because I'd run that little 50 till it was out of gas, and then I'd come back and put more gas in it, and that was so weird to me. You'd be like, you got ants in your pants. I'm like, what the, I don't have ants in my pants. What are you talking about? But that was their way of saying that I couldn't sit still, I guess. Yeah, I was very active back then, probably ADD by today's standards, but whatever. So rode that Trail 50 as much as I could, and that's really, in my mind, what got me hooked on motorcycles. There was nothing great. I don't think there was anything ever greater than riding that thing when I was on it. So I actually had, when I was a toddler, I was still in diapers, I had a motorcycle that you would sit on and put in, you know, you could walk with it or whatever. It made motorcycle noises, and I still remember that to this day too. I wore that thing out. Then I went to dirt bikes for a while, and did that quite a bit. I really wanted a street bike when I was 16, and wasn't able to get one because of my mom, which is probably a very good idea. I probably wouldn't be here today. Even when I started riding motorcycles when I was 19 or 20, all the way until probably 30, I was pretty reckless. Probably should have died several times on them. I remember several times coming over a hill going 110, 120 on Highway 21, and a car would be stopped or something, and me and my buddy are splitting lanes and laying rubber down trying to stop. Just, I don't know if I was reckless because I thought I was a pretty good rider. But I raced cars, built cars. I was into cars, obviously gearhead. I grew up in the 80s with Dukes of Hazzard, Smokey the Bandit, Speed Racer reruns and all that stuff. So I was heavy into cars. Built a Camaro, Monte Carlo, stuff like that. I had nitrous on it. We used to go to Gateway, drag race on the street a ton. Back then you would drag race on Lindbergh. We got away with that quite a bit. That was every Friday and Saturday night. You go out there and race. So I didn't have the fear that you probably should have of a motorcycle when I was that age. I definitely didn't have the fear. Still don't really fear them, but I respect them now a lot more than I ever have. And you need that. And I just passed where I wanted to go. All right, well, anyway, you kind of need that healthy respect if you're going to rely on a motorcycle. I've actually only crashed a motorcycle once, and it wasn't even my motorcycle, unfortunately. I'll have to do that in another video, tell the story about that. You know, I've had a lot of close calls, especially in my younger years. Now I'm a little more defensive and a little careful, but yeah, I did crash one motorcycle one time, and I'll have to tell a story about that on a later video. So anyway, I'm going to turn around here, and well, not really turn around, I'm just going to do a big loop. And go visit my dad real quick before we go down and check out the house I grew up in, a couple other places here in St. Louis. So we're kind of back on track here, not too far from where I wanted to go. I guess I could turn here instead of going up there. So anyway, what's kind of ironic, I kind of lost track of my thought, is my dad, to the best of my knowledge, never rode a motorcycle, or never owned one. He looked kind of like a biker, a 70s biker. He had long hair, sideburns. He always wore a blue jean jacket and blue jeans and boots, belt buckle, and drank a lot of Falstaff beer, Lucky Strike cigarettes, drove a pickup truck. But I really don't think that he ever owned a motorcycle or was really into them. But somehow he had influenced me into a lifelong passion. So weird riding this bike compared to it's only the second time I've taken this bike out this year. Been riding the new to me bike. It's very weird riding this one, but anyway, yeah, I don't think he ever owned a motorcycle, and he was always really good to me. I guess it was pretty bad. My mom there for a lot of years, he was a drinker. He would probably drink a case of beer a day, maybe more. I don't know. I know it was a lot. You never saw him without a beer in his hand, and it was a straight up addiction. And it got pretty ugly there, divorce and all that time. It seemed like it was going well for a long time, and then just the bottom fell out. Like I said, I was 8, so I didn't really know what was going on, but the bottom fell out and it was like an all-out war, it seemed like. And it seemed like he was kind of the aggressor with it, but he was always nice to me, always good to me, never abused me or anything. He did come up to my grade school a couple times drunk and try to get me out of school, which put the school in full lockdown and had me getting escorted out the back with a teacher. So I mean, he did stuff like that that wasn't all that great for me, but as far as like abuse or anything, he was always really good with me and would teach me things like a normal dad and do all the normal dad stuff when we were together. But I guess my mom and him were like fire and ice, or oil and fire, or whatever the whatever the phrase is. And I know I got physical a couple times, and she actually messed up his arm, and my mom's not someone you want to mess with, especially at that age. So he learned. He was little, I think about 6 foot or a little over 6 foot. He had red hair, which is funny because I had red hair. The other thing that's funny about that is his name was Terry, and my biological father's name is Terry. He also has red hair, so my mom has a thing for guys with red hair named Terry. And she's actually single now, so if you have red hair and your name is Terry, you let me know. You might have a good shot with her, but she'll probably hate me for that. But I don't know what I was going to say. Anyway, got pretty bad there, and then he kind of floated around. He couldn't hold the job down, kind of floated around, and moved away for a while out of St. Louis, and then came back and contacted me, and we kind of, by that time I was driving, and we kind of reconnected for a little bit. And I had kind of a low tolerance at that point in my life for all the drunkenness and some of the things he would say, like he still loved my mom and all that, and it just would kind of wear on me. And we reconnect. I think this is it right here. This looks like it's different. We reconnected there before he died. I would say the last 2 or 3 years, but we weren't super close. And I was at work one day, and somebody called me and said, "Hey, I think your dad's on the way to the hospital. Doesn't look good. There's blood everywhere." And I made my way to the hospital. Left work, went to the hospital, and by the time I got there, he had already passed away. Cirrhosis of the liver, bled to death out of his mouth. It was evidently pretty brutal. And when I went back to the apartment, there was blood all over the carpet, and definitely wasn't a good scene. So I kind of ended that chapter. Yeah, you know, I miss him, I loved him, and still think about him. Actually, like a dummy, he left his life insurance to some lady that we was living next door to. They weren't like involved with each other, they were just friends. And she wouldn't even pay for the funeral or the headstone or anything. So I had to end up, when I got a little bit older and was more established, I was 18 when he died, almost 19. And when I got a little older, more established, I actually had to put the headstone on the grave, because that lady wasn't going to do it. Kind of ignorant. She could at least, he had a $10,000 policy, and she could at least put a headstone on there. So I think my aunt tried to get her to do it, and she wouldn't do it. So it just is what it is. So anyway, we're gonna go visit him real quick. Not to be morbid, but like I said, this is kind of for my kids too, to see to learn things about me. I don't think I've ever taken either one of them here to visit him or see him. Probably haven't talked about him very much either, here and there to my son. My daughter's 13, she don't talk to me, so anyway, we'll head up that way and I'll show you. Then we'll get out of here, go to more pleasant things. Alright, so we're here, 1990, July 9th. And so he lived through the best decade, 1980s. He drank it away, unfortunately, but in my opinion, 1980s are still the best decade. I guess this is his dad and mom here, Martha and Emil. Yeah, I never met Martha, and I was really, really little when Emo was alive. And they grew up here in Afton, not too far from here, off of Hickey Street. So that's my dad. There she is, sitting peacefully by the pond. I remember my dad used to bring me here and visit, and he'd park his truck over here by that wall. And a lot of times I wouldn't even go up to the grave. He'd tell me to stay in the truck or whatever. I watch these birds or whatever floating around. Got one over there still. There used to be a bunch of them in here. I don't know if they're hiding or what, but they've had swans and things like that in this pond since I was a little boy back in the, I guess, the 80s when we come here and visit. Swam right over to me. I don't really think I got food or what. Or maybe they're just, that's where she wanted to come over. Of course, I don't know if it's a she or he, who knows. I'm not really a bird expert. Walking out here. Probably come up to attack me. Look at this. Huh. That is so, I've never had one do this. I definitely don't trust it. Whoa! Look at her. Aggressive. It must be a female. Only a female. Look at this. I don't have anything to eat and I don't trust you, so there you go. We got it on camera. Aggressive. Has to be a female. Cranky. There, she's hungry. I don't know. I don't know. We're gonna get out of here though before she comes over the fence, and I gotta wrestle a bird here on live on YouTube here. So right here we're kind of entering the city limit of St. Louis City. We're in the county right now, or Afton is what they call it. The kind of unofficial border is actually River Repair up here, which is basically just a big sewer. They try to call it a river, but when I was a boy, it was an active sewer, and it runs pretty far. Almost like it runs close to Forest Park all the way into Mississippi. And actually, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was riding my bicycle across this bridge up here, and there was a dead body laying in the middle, and there's no water in it most of the time, so it was just a dead body laying out in the middle. And by the time I got in there, there was a police helicopter, and the police were there, but they hadn't recovered the body or even gotten down to the body yet. And evidently it was younger black guy. He seemed like I kind of did a little research on him since I saw his body and was interested in it, and kind of Facebook stalked him and stuff. And he played guitar and seemed like a really sweet guy. I don't know what he was into or what happened, but he lived in the apartments back there, and ended up in about 5-6 inches of water, face up, in River Repair. So that's unfortunate. See a lot of things. An avid bicycle rider too. So you see a lot of things on bicycle that you may not see on a motorcycle. This is actually a bike trail here. It's the Greenway. On the left is River Repair. And like I said, that runs all the way to Mississippi. There's a casino at the end of it. River City Casino. And I was just thinking about that bird that came out of the pond and came at me. My dad was a big prankster and kind of sarcastic and, you know, very funny person, and I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if I believed in that sort of thing. Maybe he got that bird to do that. It wouldn't surprise me. It's something that he would do. I don't know if you can kind of see River Repair there. There's not much water in it. And we actually, when we were kids, there's a little, you know, there's offshoots of this that connect to it, and we had a little creek. Well, we thought it was a creek. It was actually just a big sewer. It looked just like that, but it's like way smaller. It wasn't as wide. And it was literally like 2 blocks from our house. And, you know, most of the time there was no water in it, so we would, being kids and being stupid, we would try to walk from the beginning of that, and there was actually rats there all the time. They had like a little walkout before you went down into it. There's nobody supposed to go down there, but it's just for kids, we're dumb. but they had a little walkout, and you'd walk out to that, and there was a railing, and you could see there was where the sewer opened up. There'd always be 10 or 15 rats just chilling out right there. Sometimes when you'd walk through the woods, you'd hear them running away from you. So that was pretty sketchy. But being the dumbasses that we were, we would actually try to walk from the opening of that by our house all the way to River Repair here, because it connects up here into a big tunnel, and we'd walk through the tunnel. And we would try to walk to the rock, jump on the rocks without getting wet. And of course you can't do that. You know, we'd always get wet. And our socks and shoes would smell really bad. And literally we were walking in like sewer water like dumbasses. So, well, when you're a kid, it's kind of fun to try to avoid it, I guess. I don't think I do it now, but there was actually what they call the Gravelway Creek, and it had a rope swing over it. And oh man, we would swing out into the Gravelway Creek. Well, the Gravelway Creek connects to River Repair too, so I'm sure it had a large amount of who knows what in it, in the water. And we would actually swing out and let go and go into the water there. That's how dumb we were. And it smelled so bad, like you would, when you would go under and then go in your nose and stuff, it would sting. It was just the nastiest shit ever. So, yeah, that's the stuff that we did here in St. Louis growing up. But like I said, it was a great time to grow up, 80s in St. Louis. Mostly families, you know, it's back when the families were still together, and well, I guess mine wasn't, but I was probably one of the few kids that didn't have their parents still together in the neighborhood. But nothing but good childhood memories. The only thing, when my mom and dad were, it was kind of a funny story. When my mom and dad were having their outs, she would tell me, you know, he'd come to school and try to get me out of school. And he didn't have custody. I think he had every other weekend or something. And he would get drunk and try to come up there. She got me convinced that he was going to kidnap me, which is smart for the mom. You know, she don't want me showing. He wouldn't hurt me, but, you know, you don't want to go through trying to find me and all that. Well, he got a job driving an ice cream truck, and he would drive around the neighborhood in the ice cream truck. So, like most kids, you hear the ice cream truck, you run to it. And me and my friends had to run away from the ice cream truck because we thought my dad was going to kidnap me. So, it's kind of funny. It wasn't funny back then. It kind of sucked because I loved him. I didn't want to run from him. At the same time, I was, you know, didn't want to go with them either because I love my, what is going on here? I love my friends and my situation at home. And, you know, they were fighting pretty bad, and I was being told I was going to get kidnapped, so. And he actually, we actually ran from him several times. I actually seen him in the truck, van. I had to run, and I felt so bad about it because I'm sure he saw me running, and, you know, you just feel bad because you're running from your dad. But like I said, I'm not trying to make it sappy or anything. I'm not scarred for life over it. It's just a story. It's like, not like I said, I almost now I look back and kind of laugh about it because Southside Cycling, it's kind of a landmark here in South St. Louis. We used to go through, they used to be right here in this corner, and that used to be a liquor store, but they used to be right there. And we would go into their trash can at night and get their tires out of there because we didn't have no money, me and my friends, so we would just get their crappy tires out and reuse them. Sometimes get the inner tubes and patch them or whatever. We were all in the bikes pretty heavily. That's how you got around back then, was bike. You know, your parents didn't drive you anywhere. You want to go somewhere, you either walked or rode your bike. Your mom ain't gonna take you or your dad. Now these parents take their kids states away to play games and stuff. I don't, you know. Back then it was come home when the streetlights come on. Other than that, stay out of my hair. So this is actually that right there is the sewer and the little system that we used to play in that goes to River Repair. You can see it's about probably a half mile long that we would play in that. And we didn't swim in it or nothing, but I mean, you would get wet, your shoes would get wet. This is the street I grew up on. Moved here when I was about 9 or 10. Before that, we were in an apartment with my grandma, and they ended up renting this house, and my mom actually rented this house that I grew up in here. I had a buddy right there lived in the second house. This guy was a fireman. His name was Sam. But I would say, well, my mom stayed here. I had moved out, and she stayed a little bit longer, but probably 11, 12 years in this house. That's what I consider my childhood house. And it's this one right here. Oh, it's this one right here. We used to jump off that ledge and have all kinds of fun. It's a small house. It's only actually one bedroom. It's got a dining room that my mom turned into a bedroom, but it's actually only one bedroom. Got a fellow biker there. And what's funny, okay, we're here now. This is where I grew up. I'm going to show you where my wife grew up. And we didn't know each other until we started working at the same place. I knew all kinds of kids through this neighborhood, probably 10, 15 kids that we all hung out. And then I had one really good friend hung out with all the time, my best friend. And I knew some of the people that she knew growing up. She's 2 years younger than me. But I knew some of the people that she knew, but we never met, we don't think we did. See, this is my house here. And then my best friend grew up, well, I guess it's 2 houses over. My best friend grew up right there. So you could almost do one of those stupid cans with the rope on and talk to each other. I mean, we didn't do that, but... So you can see I'm coming out here, and the only thing separating my neighborhood from her neighborhood is this little park right here, which is actually a cemetery. It's now considered a park. When we were growing up, there's still graves in there, though, grave sites. When we were growing up, it was still kind of a cemetery, and it had it was all wooded. The bottom part was all wooded, so we would build clubhouses in there and mess around. And graves were coming up out of the ground, and you could fall in some pretty big holes and play in some pretty big holes. I guess when the grave would come out, the city would come and take the coffin away. We never saw a coffin that I can remember, but we did see plenty of graves coming up, and that field was open when I was growing up. We used to play a lot of soccer in there after school. Wasn't quite as many trees right there, and then this whole area was wooded all the way up to about right here, and then it would kind of open up into a field. And I knew some people up in this part of the neighborhood, because we'd ride our bikes, like I said, all over. This isn't that far. You're only talking a couple city blocks. But it's funny because some little girl grew up over here, and I never met her until we both got a job at the same place. She was 15, and I'd already been working there a year or two. But she grew up on this street. Literally, this house right here, not the one with the flag, but the other one. This one right here, 4635. So my wife grew up there, and we've been together about 30 years. We got married very young. Nobody thought we'd make it, and she's still my best friend after all this time. And this is where we met. Right here at this corner pizza place, which we ended up buying and owning for a period of time, 20 years actually. We just sold it 2 years ago for a lot of different reasons, and we actually own this one, another location. We own the business and the commissary. We made our own dough and sauce and all that stuff, and owned it for a little over 20 years. And we just sold it. A lot of good times in it. The last 5 or 6 years took their toll on us, working weekends, holidays. The FDA came in and started harassing us about things. I'm not going to go into all that, but it just wasn't fun anymore. Had a couple lawsuits that weren't really our fault, because we do pizza delivery out of there. Driver has an accident, you're going to get sued. I had a guy, two of my employees got in a fight, and one employee was an amateur boxer, trained to be a boxer, and he knocked this guy out and hurt his head. He hit his head and had to get his skull drained. So we got sued over that. Nothing really came of it, but it was still 2 years of stress going through it. And then I had two guys come in with guns and try to rob us. And I got shot at, and I shot the guy 3 times. And he's now in jail, prison, I guess for like 25 years, something like that, 20-some years. So, I mean, that wasn't the reason why we sold it, but the neighborhood getting a little rougher, and just wasn't fun anymore, and was a time to slow down and enjoy life more. And I'm actually a mechanic by trade. I went to school and took a lot of classes and worked in a professional shop before we owned that restaurant, and worked on cars basically my whole life, and it's really my passion anyway. I was doing that. When I was there, I was working on the driver's cars and working on the trucks and doing all the maintenance and electrical and plumbing, and it just got to be quite a bit. And then my daughter kind of missed out on a lot of things because we were always at work, so it was time for a change. My son, he kind of grew up in there. He actually worked there too. He was there the night that the guys came in with the gun and shooting at us. He hit the ground, and I decided to shoot back. So and then about probably a year later, he ended up getting a job at Ford as an oil tech guy, and he's moving his way through there. So it's all worked out good. So that was Beeville Mill. I was going to show you Beeville Mill. This is kind of the Beeville area. Still South St. Louis, considered South St. Louis, but it's the Beeville area because of the Beeville Mill there. So I'm going to head down to my school, and then we'll probably just end this out because I got a lot of other things to show and do. I won't bore you with the ride down there. So we're headed towards my grade school. Started here in 4th grade, so I went to a couple different schools before they got the divorce, and then ended up here from 4th to 8th. It's right next to Tower Grove Park. Tower Grove Park is one of the few parks that I know of in St. Louis. It's not owned by the city. It's privately owned. They got a lot of flowers and stuff like that in it. It's maintained pretty well. There's kind of a strong Mexican presence down in this area. I have a couple of friends that live down here that are Mexican. It's a pretty strong area for that, among other things. But yeah, you know, kind of kicked the stereotypes. A lot of people told me, you know, they say if you grow up with an alcoholic father, you're going to be an alcoholic. And I don't, nowhere near an alcoholic. I drank once in a while, recreationally, that's about it. And then me and my wife got married very young. She was 18, and there's my school right there. I used to call it Messiah Lutheran. And that's Messiah Church. It's my church of the youth. And that's the school that my dad used to come up to and try to snatch me out of. Put it in full lockdown, even in the 80s. So, yeah, and then I had a lot of people tell us that we'll never make it, you know, getting married too young, and I guess that didn't work out too much because most people that said that are divorced, and we're still married. So not only are we still married, we're happily married, so it worked out good for us. I think sometimes it helps to grow up together. But anyway, maybe I'll show a little bit of Tower Grove, and then we'll just end this video out for the day. And then next time we'll probably introduce the new motorcycle. I'll give you a hint on the new one. I've been riding motorcycles, you know, like I said, my whole life basically, and rode them, you know, hundreds of miles a day. But I've never really traveled on them, like on trips and stuff. And in the last couple of years, I've been doing little small weekend trips here and there. The Ozark Bike Rally, which is only a couple hours from my house, but you know, done little weekend trips on them and stuff. And it never really occurred to me when I was younger to do that. And now I kind of want to do it. We got more time, and our schedule's a lot better than it used to be. And my wife's got a decent job. She's got vacation and everything. Because up until past couple of years, we hadn't taken a vacation since 2001, the year after Dale Earnhardt died. Dang, that's one thing you learn about the cities. You're going to be hitting some bumps. We were big NASCAR fans, still kind of are. I don't watch as much as I used to, but we went to Daytona the year after Dale Earnhardt died for a week. That's the last vacation that me and my wife had took until we sold the business. And then the last year we sold the business, we went to Florida with my dad, and my brothers and sisters. And that was probably our second real vacation in 20 years. You can kind of see this Tagrove's blooming. So anyway, now kids are getting a little older, and we got the business going, and it's just easier for us to do things. And I just had an epiphany a couple years ago. I want to start taking some motorcycle trips because I love, you know, I would always ride, you know, 200-300 miles a day in St. Louis or Missouri and Illinois, and do all the scenic rides and all that, and commute back and forth to work and all that, but I never really traveled on a vacation or went anywhere far on a motorcycle. And this particular motorcycle, the VTX1800, is a great cruiser, but it's not a great long trip motorcycle. And the money that I would spend to put bags on it and seat and all that still wouldn't help my wife. Even if I got a better seat, it still wouldn't be enough for her to ride on it on a long trip. So I ended up getting another motorcycle. I ended up buying another. I'm not going to get rid of this bike. I'll probably never get rid of this bike just because I bought it new, and I actually still love it. But I did buy another motorcycle recently, and I'll give you a hint. It's set up for long rides. It's got a nice big passenger seat on it, and they're known to go a couple 100,000 miles no problem without any engine issues. That's all I'll say for this video. I'm sure you can figure it out if you know about motorcycles, which one I'm talking about, especially if you see that I'm riding a Honda now. And that's the thing I wanted to mention before I end this video. I like all motorcycles. I like Harleys. There's, you know, cruiser bikes. There's some Triumphs I like, some of the British bikes. I'm not really a motorcycle snob. I'm not a big adventure type bike. I don't like how those look, but if you ride it, that's great. I respect you, and can be polite. You know, I'm not a big fan of the trikes, but I get why people ride them if they have health issues or whatever. You see, the playground we used to play in when I was younger. Sometimes we come up here. Usually they have water running in the summer and stuff. We get out of school because, you know, Messiah's right over there. Because we used to actually have recess in the park at the school, do our sports and all that stuff, and gym class a lot of times. And when the weather's nice, we'd go across the street and play in the park. And sometimes we come up here where the water fountain was at after school or whatever and mess around, because I used to walk through the park and get the bus. We didn't have buses, and my mom worked third shift, so I was on my own when I got to a certain age, getting back and forth to school. So I took the bi-state bus system. A lot of times I'd walk through the park and get a bus right here on the corner, because this is Morgan Ford, and Morgan Ford runs right into my street. So when I got off the bus, I was literally a block from my house. There's a couple different ways you could take the bus from my house to school, but that was one of the more popular ones. You had to do more walking. I didn't have to transfer out or anything. If I went the other way down Grand to Gravois, I had to transfer, get off different buses and stuff. So a lot of times I would just walk down here. had some relatives that grew up. This is Morganford here, towards Tower Grove. I had some relatives that used to babysit me, lived over here in Miami. But yeah, I just want to say, you know, if you ride, you may not like me because I ride a Honda or whatever, that's fine, I don't care. I'm not one to be in a group, or I'll go on a group ride or something if somebody wants, you know, if something's interesting, but pretty much do my own thing. I don't really have any friends that ride anymore. I do have 2 people I kind of started riding with recently here and there, and neither one of them are super experienced and probably don't ride as fast as me on the highway and stuff, so it's but we do, you know, hopefully we can ride this year more, you know, take some more rides. I'm planning on going to Sturgis for the first time this year. I was going to go down to Daytona, I just couldn't get away. I had too much work to do. We're going to do the bike rally a couple days in Sturgis. We're going to visit the bike rally for 2 or 3 days, and then we're going to do a lot of the sites like Devil's Tower and Needles Highway and all that stuff on the motorcycle. And probably trailer it up there. I know it's going to get some people's panties in the bunch, but if it was up to me, I would probably ride it up there. But there's no way I'm getting my wife to go up there for a week and a half or whatever, 10 days on just the motorcycle. So I'll trailer it, and then we'll both be happy. She'll be happy, and I'll be happy that I get to ride all the sites on 2 wheels. So that's my hint on what the next motorcycle I'll introduce to you is going to be. You got your blinker on, let's go. It's actually bigger than the VTX. It has more luggage space. The engine's smaller. It's a 6-cylinder though, this is a twin. So anyway, I'm going to head back towards my house and see if my mom wants to get lunch. Got kind of a lazy day today. I had supposed to work on a car today, and it got canceled at the last minute, so I figured today is a nice day to go ride the motorcycle and enjoy myself. I actually went to that school right there, St. John's, kindergarten and 1st grade. We grew up, I lived on Juniata. Some people call it Juanita. We used to call it Juniata. That's the thing with St. Louis. There's so many different ways to say the names. They got Gravois, River des Paris, River de Pere. Everyone argues about how to say certain streets, but we used to call it Juniata. So I grew up, that's where I first, well, there in Cleveland. I think we lived in Cleveland for a little bit when I was a baby. Then we moved to Juniata, and then moved out to the county right where I'm at now for about probably a year. And that's when things blew up, and then we ended up back in the city. So anyway, that's going to be it for this one. I'm going to head back. See you on the next one. We'll probably introduce you to the next motorcycle and go for a ride on that, and go from there. I'll probably have on the new motorcycle, I just put tires on it, and oil change, and air filter. I did a whole bunch of stuff to it. I should have recorded it because there's not a lot of good videos online about it. There's videos on there, but they all suck, in my opinion. They don't tell you, they just don't tell you enough information. And I should have recorded it, made my own videos, but I was kind of learning as I go myself. And I didn't want to get slowed down with it, but we will be doing, or I will be doing repair videos and stuff as it goes, upgrades and stuff. Try to keep it motorcycle related. I do have a car channel where I do car repairs at Hoopties Garage on YouTube, and I've had that going now for about a year and a half or so. It's going pretty well. Got a lot of good feedback from it, I'm sure. It's one of the things about going on YouTube is all the trolls and the evil comments and stuff. I'm not really looking forward to all that, but oh man, you drive a Honda, you suck. So anyway, we're going to end this out. There's Beeble Mill. You can see it up in the distance. I don't know, it's been changing hands. I think technically the city owns it now, and then they lease it out to people, and it's been kind of changing hands lately with different restaurant type places. And I know, yeah, now they call it Dust Bevo. Last time I was there was for a wedding. Probably shouldn't have done that, but whatever. Last time I was there was for a wedding, dinner or whatever, but that was a long time ago. Now it's changed hands several times. This is the thing with St. Louis. You know, they don't sync the lights. It's so annoying. But anyway, we'll get off here in this. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Hope it didn't bore you too much, but if I did, you know, it's free. So it didn't cost you anything except some time out of your life. If you watched it that long, you were bored. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. But thanks for watching, and God bless.